There was just so much.
You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Hello and welcome to Cancelled, the podcast that looks at silly celebrity crimes and assigns charges and sentences to them so we can all move on with our lives, but we don't look at actual crimes, they are for the courts. We are not a legal podcast. No. You are Claire Stevens, I'm Jessie Stevens, and we work really hard to have like a very set schedule. We go which celebrity next week, which celebrity next July. We are just very organised.
Okay.
But sometimes something happens in Noosa. And we need to do some juggling.
Yeah, we go, oh, we had that podcast ready. We'll be holding that.
Because
there's an emergency.
There's an emergency in Noosa. A man's pulled his hammy.
Hi. So this is future Claire and Jessie. Now, what's happened was that we both got way too hyped about this story. And because we were so excited, we kind of forgot to explain it and give it context. So our brilliant producer, Talissa, said, come on, guys, you've got to come back. You've got to record this from home and make sure we're all on the same page about this Noosa incident. Jessie, can you acknowledge that this was your fault?
No, it was 100% on me. I jumped to 15 steps ahead because I got excited about what you will later hear is a Shakespearean rendition of what happened. Given that I hadn't established a premise, I could have confused our listeners. But luckily, we have people to help us to, I'm not going to say rouse on us, but to go, come on, think of the listener. And that's what we're going to do because we started talking about Anthony Belly Bell and Carlos. And for some people, they might be going, Carlos who? Anthony Belly Bell what? For some people, they're going to go, I don't need the context.
No, I know. Some people may not need this context, but
some will.
Michael Clarke, Australian cricket legend, was in Noosa with his girlfriend, Jade, her sister, Jasmine, and Carl Stefanovic, who's the host of the Today Show.
And Noosa is a place in Queensland.
It is.
And I think this is important context. I would describe it as a relatively fancy place. So fancy, I've never been there. But people richer than me go there. So it has a bit of class, would you say?
Yes, but it's also a family-friendly destination, Jessie.
Right.
That's important. That's important context.
Yeah.
There was also a celebrity accountant with them for some unknown reason, and his name is Anthony Belly Bell. Well, it's Anthony Bell, but people call him Anthony Belly Bell. We will get into all of that a little later in the episode, but long story short, a fight breaks out between the four. Michael has obviously hurt his hammy.
Looks like he's pulled a hammy. I read a report since and it said it did radiate all the way down to his calf. There's a bruise. So it is hammy, calf related, back of the leg related.
And he is yelling out to his mate Carl, who he calls Carlos. And this is important because we call Carl Carlos. We think we're joking. But it appears his friends also call him Carlos. And Michael Clarke is limping behind the group, shirtless.
Just to really paint a picture. It was captured by bystanders on their phones. Some say they did God's work. Others say that was explosive. We do not provide comment at this moment. But the video goes viral and it makes news not just across the country but obviously internationally because it's all just a bit of fun. It makes it into the New York Post.
That's when you know you've made it.
That is when you know you've absolutely made it. Correct. So that's a little bit of context around the incident that took place. There's been a bit of distance. So maybe now that there's been a week or two, maybe we can have a little bit of fun. If you don't think this is fun, maybe don't listen because we're about to have a lot of fun with what took place.
In case you haven't guessed, today's episode is about Michael Clarke.
Because we've already done an episode on Carlos Stefanovic. Highly recommend. We refer to him exclusively as Carlos. We were before our time. It made us giggle every time, and now we're glad the whole nation can enjoy.
Including his good friend, Michael Clarke. Jessie, Michael Clarke hasn't had a good few weeks, ever since he yelled Carlos on a street in Noosa on the 10th of January.
Do we know how he pulled the hammy?
I think it was during the fight. But he did pull his hammy during his cricket career, and I just think he re-pulled it. He re-pulled it.
Because what can happen is we move too fast. We do quite a quick dart across the trailer
Yeah.
park, and we've not warmed up the hammy. We haven't done a stretch.
No.
So we pull it.
No.
So I have a bad leg.
Oh, great.
And sometimes I limp, especially at the end of a long, hard day. And my partner turned to me last night and said, "You look like Michael Clarke."
Michael Clarke.
And it was so degrading.
Because he really does. That leg's dragging when he's walking.
Yeah.
Cricket stories are some of our favourite stories on Cancelled. We did an episode on the late, great Shane Warne and came to the conclusion that the man was a pure legend. Like, we went to Cancelled and we were like, he's great.
He's got an exceptionally strong wrist. I'm not going to hold it against the man. A thick wrist.
Thick wrist.
He has thick wrists.
Don't. I get emotional thinking about Shaney. I actually do.
Mikey Clarke is no
Mickey's
Shane.
great too.
Is he?
No. In his own way. Michael Clarke. Jesse, what do you think his middle name is?
Oh, John James.
Wait, did you know?
No?
It's John.
His name's Michael Clarke. It's not going to be something creative and beautiful like
Sebastian.
No, I was thinking of something really lovely like Italian, like Giovanni.
Yeah, it's not going to be Giovanni.
No.
Michael John Clarke is a former Australian cricketer who was captain of the 2020 international side between 2007 and 2010. You're looking at me knowing I know nothing of what I say.
Sports.
Then he was captain of the Australian cricket team between 2011 and 2015. He took Australia to victory as captain in the 2015. Sorry, you're trying to care. In the 2015 Cricket World Cup, won the Allan Border Medal 4 times. At his peak, he was ranked the best Test batsman in the world.
When did he date Lara?
We're getting there. But Jesse, this was important because just like Warnie, he had a disadvantage too. He had a chronic back injury.
Oh, did he?
It got progressively worse throughout his career, and he went, "No, I shan't be stopped by my back. I'll be a very good batsman." And he was.
That is like most athletes have that. My friend Nadal, he's got several. I mean, he's got bad knees. He's got a bad wrist, and yet he perseveres, and that's why we love sport. I actually do like sport. I do like sport. I just don't like cricket.
We'll get to that. So Michael Clarke has been made an officer of the Order of Australia. You know, people have OAC or whatever, whatever it is. For OA. I don't know where I got that. I think
an Order of Australia medal.
An Order of Australia. I think I got the C from cricket. I thought it might be Order of Australia cricket version. And I guess my question is, should it not be an officer of the Order of Australia for services to gossip?
For contributions to the Daily Mail and News.com, we award you this medal, Michael Clarke.
So true. And that's why Carlos should get one too, because I don't think Carlos has an Order of Australia.
He's deserving. But while Australia liked how Michael Clarke played cricket, he wasn't always popular off the pitch. Apparently, the cricket establishment can be quite conservative, and it was a shock to have this guy who was flashy. He had dyed blonde hair, he had an earring, he had tattoos, he drove a Ferrari, and he had a model girlfriend. The vibe was that he was materialistic and a bit selfish, and even as the captain, he seemed to put himself first. Before we get into our structure for today, I did want to float one thing, and you've touched on it. Cricket is very boring. Is that a crime?
I like Pat Cummins.
Me too. That's what's... See, it was interesting.
And Scott Boland.
Well, it was interesting that a lot of the commentary around Michael Clarke was about how he was like an underwear model and he did all these things when he was playing cricket. And I was like, oh my God, he tried to make cricket hot. And I just feel like now Pat Cummins has really made cricket hot.
Yeah, I agree. I think being flashy is annoying. And I suppose he tried to make it sort of very into your appearance and your shoes and your clothes, which is sort of what Nick Kyrgios does for tennis. But cricket,
that's not the vibe.
That's not the vibe.
You're on a pitch for too many hours. I've always said, and I stand by this, when I have a child, that child may play any sport.
Not cricket.
Not cricket. I'm not
It goes for too long? And
It's too boring.
too many clothes for hot weather.
Mm,
I worry about the heat.
Me too. My structure for today is as follows. His controversial relationship with Lara Bingle,
Mm-hmm.
cricket behaviour, the Noosa fight, the fallout.
Okay.
His controversial relationship. I have so many feelings about this since revisiting it that I didn't realise at the time. I feel quite feminist. So Lara and Michael began dating in 2007 after meeting on the set of Channel 9's reality TV show Torval and Dean's Dancing on Ice. Jesse, this needs to be brought back.
I don't remember this.
It was celebrities
she would have
dancing
been
on ice.
quite young.
Yeah, it was kind of not that long after her
Australia
ad.
So where the bloody hell are you?
And I just think it's a great idea, and you could do it again with another cast, but it's just Michael Clarke and Carlos and Jade and Jasmine, and you've already got and Anthony Belly Bell. You've already got a cast.
That's a great idea. And this was just before Being Lara Bingle, the best reality television show of the 2000s.
I mean, it was a great reality show, yes. It wasn't just before. Her relationship with Michael Clarke had ended when she did that reality show.
That's a low point.
So they get engaged the next year in New York, and Michael gets Lara's initials tattooed on his shoulder. The tabloids love it. He's just a cricketer with the model.
Yeah.
Love this. But Bingle's reputation wasn't great after voicemails were leaked, and there were all these stories about how it was described as her having an affair with Brendan Favola. He was the one having an affair. He was married with 2 children. She was single and thought he was single. Yet it's described as like her affair.
Was this before Michael Clarke?
This was before Michael Clarke.
Right.
And like 2 years before Michael Clarke.
So she's just a young woman sleeping with a guy.
Correct.
Who's married with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Brendan Favola.
And she doesn't know. Oh, no. She does say she was on the phone to him and there was a noise in the background. And she said, "What's that?" And he did say, "My baby." And at that point, I think she
clued
did,
on.
she did start to suspect, "You're not who I thought you were."
Yeah.
Even when Lara's going out with Michael, it's very much about how she was a really keen sports fan. One publication wrote about Clarke's ex-girlfriend and said that that woman was the latest casualty in Lara Bingle's pursuit of champion sportsmen. So it was as though she was like a monster or a dragon eating the sportsmen.
Australian sportsman. Yeah.
She was just going for it. She did go out with a few sportsmen, but like, let her be. She's not hurting anyone. In early March 2010, Lara Bingle launched legal action against Brendan Favola because an image that he had taken of her in the shower while they had been together was published by a tabloid magazine. That image apparently had been on every footy player's phone. He had taken this photo. You can see it's a really distressing image that we will not post on the Twins Thoughts Instagram page. It's quite a distressing image. You can see that she's like, "What are you doing? Stop." She's trying to cover her body. That photo goes to everyone in the footy community and then it ends up in a tabloid. She sues them. She loses, by the way.
Why did she lose?
Because the image-based abuse laws didn't exist yet. So she loses.
Right.
She's 19 in the photograph. Clarke was playing cricket overseas at the time, and one prominent sports journalist wrote, he must choose between his love for Bingle or leadership of the Australian cricket team because he was locked into a love affair with a beautiful but possibly unstable young woman with headstrong ways who craves attention and courts controversy. She just had an image leaked of herself.
Without her consent.
So she launches this legal action. She is slammed in the media. And meanwhile, Michael Clarke is in New Zealand playing this cricket
with his ball.
with his ballies.
And
Their
Socks.
relationship keeps getting compared to others in the team. And all these reports are saying how the other girlfriends and wives, the people in the team, have the maturity and adaptability needed to survive the demands of the distant life. So right when she's suing the tabloid, Clarke abandons this tour of New Zealand. He's vice captain. He leaves to return to Sydney. It's definitely not normal sports person behaviour, and it was actually the second time he had left a tour. He had left a tour in Britain to come back to Sydney for Lara Bingle's father's funeral, and he got slammed for that, which I thought was really interesting because now I think it would be a very different narrative.
Yeah.
That of course you don't play sport when it's a funeral, but the fans kind of had this idea that Lara Bingle was taking him away from sport, and he was a really good cricketer. So he comes back to Sydney, and you think maybe he's going to support her. She's gone through a rough time.
Well, that's what I would assume, is that his fiancée is going through a mentally and emotionally taxing time, he might – I don't know why else he would go over and be with her.
Well, on March 12, he publicly confirmed their engagement was off. He broke up with Lara Bingle.
Because an ex leaked
For
the
having
photo.
an image of her leaked against her will.
Oh, my God.
Cool. Now, this is important. This is really important because I'd forgotten about this. Do you remember the story about him flushing the $200,000 engagement ring down the toilet?
Vaguely. I think it was brought up on the Lara Bingle show.
Yeah. So it became a story that he had flushed her engagement ring down the toilet. He has denied it over and over and over again. He says the story happened because
How did he get a hold of it?
Well, I guess when you break up the engagement, he said, give me your ring. Well, you did the wrong thing by having your image leaked without your consent. Come on, give me your ring.
Give it back. What do you want it for? I want to put it in the toilet. Well, I can put it in the toilet. No. I must put it in my toilet. So the Paps are outside his house and there was a plumbing van also outside his house. So the story became there is simply one reason for the plumbing van to be here. He has flushed the toilet. So not only has he flushed the ring down the toilet, he's regretted it.
He's wanted to retrieve it.
And
which interestingly was never part of the narrative. I would like to pose an alternative theory.
What?
He clogged the toilet. He had diarrhea. He was stressed. He left the bloody cricket.
He left the cricket.
He's done a bad thing by his fiancée. And
the thing about an engagement ring is that it wouldn't block a toilet.
Yeah,
It simply would not.
Simply would not.
Truth or fiction?
I'd like to say I'm a very silly man, but I'm not that silly. I'm not throwing any diamond ring down a toilet. Complete, made up, 100% bullshit.
Jesse, his cricket behaviour. It's been said the job of Australian cricket captain is the second most important job in Australia, only marginally behind that of Prime Minister. Can you think of some more important jobs?
Such as our job. Such as
any
doctors.
job.
Such
Lawyers,
as
teachers, nurses.
Garbage truck people.
Train drivers.
Bus drivers.
Plumbers.
Good point.
It's just not that important. So when Clarke was vice captain and then captain, there was a lot of pressure on him. I obviously always do fantastic research for this podcast, very high quality. And so today...
Like that, you did watch the Warnie doc.
I watched the 60 Minutes with Michael Clarke.
Did you?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Alison Langdon seemed to like him by the way. Anyway, the thing I miss with some of these stories is the sporting context. So I messaged our brothers who are massive sporting fans. And I said, hi, Michael Clarke, what's the go? Here you go. Here's just a vibe.
Because, sometimes what you need is not a Wikipedia entry. It's not an article. You need to go, you've peripherally followed this for your whole life. Just a quick check-in, Ari, the vibe. And what did they say about Michael Clarke?
Unbelievable cricketer, but always had an ego. They also said, first new age cricketer that cared about his looks. And I said, didn't Shane Warne care about his looks? He had his blonde hair and blue eyes, they said. Warne ate pies and drank Coke. Clarke was into his body. And I said, thank you. That's very specific. You have answered my question.
I don't know if we talked about this on the Shane Warne episode. This is revolting and objectifying, but I'm going to be honest. I became obsessed one summer with whether or not cricketers had six packs. Have I told you about this? I was watching the Big Bash or something on Boxing Day and I just went, I don't know what's underneath.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because I know
Bit like golfers.
Yeah, and I ended up finding a topless picture of all of the team. And most had six packs.
Very interesting. Well,
thank you.
Michael Clarke was quite toned.
Okay.
And he did underwear modelling. So he clearly wanted to show it off. It's interesting because he really did try to be more of a commercial person than other people who play cricket. And cricket isn't traditionally sexy. So him in underwear was weird. I respect his hustle.
Always respect his hustle.
He married Kylie Clarke. And the photo...
Kylie, K-Y-L-Y.
Yeah. And they had Kelsey Lee. So there were photos. I didn't have to Google any of that. I was like, yeah, Kelsey Lee.
I forgot about her.
Yes. So the photos from his wedding were of her in her wedding dress, and it's a very extravagant wedding dress, and she is riding on a white horse. on a beach. And he is in his wedding suit holding the reins and her wedding shoes.
Okay.
This is the kind of stuff that's in, it's just not cricket. He confused people, okay?
Okay.
And then there was the bad behaviour. In 2009, Clarke was in the dressing room with his teammates celebrating after they won the Summer Test Series. There's a tradition, you would not know this, I did not know this. When they win, the team sing the song Under the Southern Cross I Stand. And it's always up to the captain to decide when. But you don't do it straight after the game, match, cricket ball situation. You wait. You kind of party in the dressing room.
And then out of nowhere.
And then out of nowhere you do the song.
Okay.
So Michael Hussey was the captain. So it was up to him. Michael Clarke had somewhere else to be. Okay. And he got very impatient. And
Let's
the
sing the
manager,
song.
he was like, come on, sing the song now. We won, sing the song. At this point, I just quickly want to acknowledge how many cricket players are named Michael, because we've got Michael Hussey, we've got Michael Clarke. Now, the manager kept coming up to Michael Hussey and being like, when can we do the song? So clearly he was kind of advocating on behalf of Michael Clarke. Clarke stormed out of the dressing room and then was not there when they sang the song.
Missed out.
Unsportsmanlike, some would
That's kind of like, and people will relate with this, when you've got 2 Christmases,
say.
right? And you're like, I've got to run to the Christmas.
So can we do the presents?
Can we do the presents? And someone's like, well, we're going to do the presents after lunch. Or kids aren't ready for the presents.
It's like, well, it's not about the kids. They're always ready. It's presents.
I'm going to another Christmas. I don't know how to say.
So come on. Come on, Uncle, give me my $100.
Come on, give me my gift so I can go and get my other presents. I understand his frustration.
He was impatient.
But he dummy spat.
In 2016, he then recounted what happened in his autobiography, creatively titled My Story. It turned out that, yes, he did want to leave so he could hang out with Lara and his other friends.
Oh, Lara. Okay, he's still with Lara.
And he thinks Hussey and another teammate were purposely trolling him.
Sorry.
Which in their defense is funny. To just purposely drag it out. Like,
Yeah.
this guy clearly doesn't want to be, which is wait. He says he heard them discussing it to make him wait longer.
Okay.
And he lost his shit. And so he yelled, "Hang on, you're doing this out of spite, you effing dogs. Have the balls to say it to my face, you weak." His other teammate, Kadich, grabbed him by the collar and held him against a wall, and they yelled at each other. And I just want us to acknowledge the absurdity of what they're fighting over.
Sing the song
Sing
now.
the song now, you weak. What? In 2015, Kadich said Lara copped flack over that. So it became a narrative about how Lara was taking Michael away
from the cricket song.
from the cricket song. But he said it wasn't about that. Well, it was about that. It was completely about the song. But the other thing it was about was the fact that Clarke had called him a weak He was like, that's a lot of the issue here.
Yeah, name called.
Can't be name calling.
Yeah.
Speaking of people on his team that did not like him, Ricky Ponting. So Ricky Ponting said a few unflattering things about Clarke and said he doubted his ability to step up as a captain. Ponting said Clarke let his performance and anything going on outside of the game affect him.
Sounds that way.
It does sound that way in that he was calling people weak.
Yeah.
And he didn't know if he had the leadership skills to lift the team. And in Ponting's defense, yes, Michael Clarke did keep leaving the field
Yeah.
to go with his fiancée.
Yeah.
Speaking to 60 Minutes, Clarke agreed with some of what Ponting had said in his autobiography. But when asked if he believed players in his own team liked him during his 5 years as captain, he said,
I don't think I can answer that.
You've got to have some idea.
I know they respected me as their captain.
it's interesting he says they respected him. I do not think that they liked him.
Why?
Because he was rude to everyone. And,
Right.
and I'm getting into it. He's a cranky boy.
Okay.
Yeah. So one time he threatened to break someone's arm live on TV.
Who?
An English player.
As in on the cricket pitch?
Yes. So they're on the pitch and this English player, James Anderson, had made a comment towards an Aussie player. And as captain, Clarke was like, well, I've got to do something about it. So he very calmly approached the Englishman and he said, get ready for a broken arm.
Get ready for a broken.
He did say he regretted the language of what he said and that it was picked up on a stump mic going live to the world. And it wasn't the only time he was called out for an on-field comment. Playing against South Africa, Clarke called one player a cheat. And the South African side later said the Australians were like a pack of wild dogs with their behaviour and said that at least one player barked on the pitch.
Michael.
Mickey. You know it was Mickey.
It was definitely Mickey. It just reminds you of how seriously they take the cricketers in particular. They just take their sport so seriously.
I like sledging.
No, but I've been watching bits and pieces of this new cricket documentary that's out. You know, there's always a cricket documentary about the Ashes 5 minutes ago, as though it was like historical. And they're like, I walked out, you throw a ball. Like, they honestly talk as though they're the Prime Minister of the country and the stakes are really, really high. I'm like,
Jessie, the Noosa incident.
Okay. This is all I've thought about since this happened.
Okay.
And I went, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a script, right? And you will play Jade and I'm going to play Michael Clarke. And then I went, oh, you know what I should do? I should write this as a Shakespearean tragedy.
Oh, love.
As in the tone. And then I went, oh, goodness, I've got to record. So what I did with my afternoon is I went onto this website called ChatGPT, which you might have heard about, which is essentially a robot that does your work for you.
Lazy girl.
She's a lazy girl. So I typed in, write Michael Clarke Noosa story in style of Shakespearean tragedy. I'll read some of what it came up with. Okay. Act 1, Scene 1. Michael Clarke and Karl Stefanovic enter, both dressed in fine clothing, befitting their respective stations in life. Clarke is a former Australian cricket captain, while Stefanovic is a popular television personality. And then, it gets a bit weird, what brings you to my doorstep, Karl? It's not even calling him Carlos. It's not right.
And it's were they dressed well? Because Michael Clarke didn't have a shirt on.
He's calling him Michael, it's just not right. Anyway, so I was like, oh, you don't understand my question, robot. Anyway, so I tried again.
Okay.
And it wrote me more of a poem.
Oh, lovely.
I'll read you the first stanza. O Noosa, a land of beauty and serenity, yet fate doth strike a tragic chord, for Michael Clarke, a man of great renown, doth find himself in a dire predicament. His cricketing skills were second to none, and victories did oft adorn his name, but alas, a scandal doth now befall, and his reputation doth now bear the blame. It's so good. It's so good. It's about, the whole point is basically that he hath met his downfall, but that his legacy shall forever be spoiled. How good is that?
Wow,
I don't
that's
have
really
to do anything.
true. I shouldn't have even prepped.
I know.
I should have just asked ChatGPT.
I'm really impressed. Okay, so I have written us scripts.
Oh, lovely.
I will set it up. We're at a trailer park in Noosa. I actually don't know if it's a trailer park. I don't think that detail is correct.
It was a park.
Michael Clarke is limping because he's torn his hamstring and he is shirtless. The shirtlessness is interesting given he has just exited a fancy restaurant and no one knows where he's going. No one. It was warm, but it was night.
It was night.
So we have an injured shirtless Michael Clarke. We also have
celebrity accountant Anthony Bell. Pause. I would like to pause on this for a second because who we had at this dinner, the key players.
Great. Actually, very unusual makeup of people.
Michael Clarke,
Jade
girlfriend.
Yarbrough.
Yeah. Jade's sister Jasmine, who's married to Karl Stefanovic, Today Show host.
Okay, so we're on a double date.
Lovely.
Lovely double date. Hi, I'm Anthony Bell, celebrity accountant.
The only way I know Anthony Bell is because the Daily Mail have had several field days with him and his wife.
Alleged domestic violence.
Who there's not been great things about him.
I had after the script, I had end scene, and then I've written, but it's not end scene because who is Anthony Belly Bell? And then I've written, Anthony and Michael Clarke are friends.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
They're friends, but they exclusively do multi-million-dollar deals with each other. All they do is sell each other houses and boats.
Okay, you know who I think, and this is totally unfact-checked, who I think is also in on this friendship?
Who?
Kyle Sandilands.
He is.
Yeah. It just seems like the circle he'd move in.
I happened to be listening to the radio the day after, and I thought, well, how's Kyle gonna handle this?
And it's hard because he's friends with both
exactly.
of them.
And so what he did was he called Michael Clarke, who didn't answer. He's had a bad morning. And he went, don't walk away from me, you c-. And I was like, this is hilarious. That's hilarious. Very funny. All right, we're going to read this. I'm going to ask producer Talissa. I think we read it as is written, and I think we're going to have to do some beeping. Go.
I'm wrong. I'm f***ing wrong. You're a f***ing liar. I can see everything. You called her.
Baby, you're wrong. You're wrong. Baby. Belly, Anthony Belly Bell, was at the house. I swear on my life. I swear at my life. That's not true. It's not true.
You're f***ing lying to me. You are a piece of shit. I just spoke to her. What is wrong with you?
Bystander. There's children over there. Back to Clarke. I'm Clarke now. That's not true. That's not true.
Action. Jasmine walks in and tries to take Jade away.
Carlos, I can tell you now, don't you f***ing walk away. She can punch me, but you
You piece of shit, don't you f***ing speak to him.
Action. Jade tries to hit Clarke. Go. Hit me, do it again. You're wrong. You're f***ing wrong.
Oh, am I wrong? You f***ed her on December 17, you f***ed her, you're a f***ing dog. I'm gonna show her every f***ing message you ever f***ing sent me. Oh yeah, you're the love of my life, Pip, come to India.
End scene.
A bystander told the Daily Telegraph, we were in the park and saw something erupt. And lo and behold, it was one of the most famous cricketers in the country and one of the most famous TV identities in Australia fighting each other. And I just
And is that Jasmine Yarbrough who makes the shoes?
Yeah. And also her sister, Jade.
And are they talking about P Nation co-founder
Pip
Edwards?
It's a great observation. So Pip Edwards then released a statement very soon after the video was released.
And having her name dragged through the mud.
And I have to say, the speediness of this statement I appreciated, but I also appreciated the specificity and the gossip.
Okay,
she didn't back out. Her statement was, this is not my circus. Yet again, Michael, in his true nature, has not taken responsibility for his actions, and I was blatantly lied to. Yes, Pippi.
So, do we have confirmation that Pippi and Mikey had intercourse on the 17th of December? Is that the vibe we're getting?
The thing I love about her statement is I feel like she would have said if it was a lie. She would have told us if it was a lie.
It's recent, because that was only a month before.
And apparently, so Jade had seen a message Clarke had sent to Pip saying, you're the love of my life, Pip, come to India. And
dirty job.
And so Pip is like, he did lie just for that one. Clarke released a statement saying, I'm absolutely gutted. I've put people I hold in the highest regard in this position. My actions in the lead up to this altercation were nothing short of shameful and regrettable. I've drawn women of class and integrity and my mates into this situation. I own this fully. And I'm the only one at fault. True, Michael.
Good statement. Who wrote it? And is Anthony Belly Bell his accountant?
Okay, this is something Mia brought up on Out Loud. She said the biggest question to come out of this.
Really good observation.
Anthony Belly Bell, celebrity accountant. Great. Do you mean that he is an accountant who happens to be a celebrity? Or do you mean that he is an accountant to the celebrities? They are two very different things.
Clarity. So I looked him up to try and get some information. And we do have a website for Anthony Bell. Yeah. His office is just up the road. There was a lot of talk of loyalty, and every time he referred to loyalty on his website, it was capital letters.
Okay.
Like
that sounds dodgy.
Yeah.
From an accountant.
Yeah.
Like if I had a meeting with my accountant and he was like, loyalty, I'd be like, mate, come on, what are you doing? You doing some naughty things?
Because I want it on his website. I was like, well, if we're a celebrity accountant, list your celebs. But I couldn't see Anthony Bell. I mean, other than being mates with Carlos and
yeah, I guess that makes him a celebrity.
Mikey, I can't see, all right, Bell, services we offer, insights. No, I want to know what celebrities you work for.
I think it might be that he is just an accountant who happens to be a celebrity.
But why?
Because he's friends with Carlos.
Interesting.
Jesse, the response. I'm going to need you to read out some of these tweets.
Michael Clarke screaming Carlos in the streets of Noosa with no shirt on is a reality content the people want and need in 2023. So much better than The Bachelors, I'll say that.
Yeah.
So not one credible journalist thought to ask Jacinda Ardern what she thought about the Michael Clarke and Carl Stefanovic incident. Great point.
Great point. She's like, I'm stepping down as Prime Minister. If I was a journalist, I would have said, yeah, great.
But do you think
The Carlos is a yes or no?
that Mikey John Clarke, slept with Pip Edwards on the 17th of December? Do you not? Michael Clarke, Carl Stefanovic and their wags, don't like the word wags, but I will look past it if this is funny enough. And their wags sloppily punching on in a Noosa park after dark is peak Australian culture. No notes. Middle-aged divorced dad Michael Clarke pulling his hamstring in a fight with another middle-aged divorced dad while his girlfriend belts him for cheating. Don't tell me Australia has no culture. Great point. Michael Clarke and Carl Stefanovic punching on in a public park is what happens when you ask AI to write a Daily Mail Australia headline.
But I have to say the addition of Anthony Bell is also that AI.
Okay, as I sit here.
Are you going to ask ChatGPT to write a Daily Mail headline?
Write me a Daily Mail headline.
Will it understand?
I'm just going to say, do you want me to put a name in about Carl Stefanovic?
Yeah.
Okay, about Carl Stefanovic, and I'll just say what it says.
Okay.
2 hours later.
All right, he's given me a thing.
Okay.
Carl Stefanovic's career in jeopardy as controversy surrounds his conduct on set. Vague enough.
That's freaky.
I know.
I might employ that.
I know. In all seriousness, I didn't like the hitting element.
No.
I actually really didn't, and that is genuinely a crime. Like in any context, it's like if Michael Clarke pressed charges, it is a crime.
We would fully support that going to a real court.
Not our domain.
Not our domain. Because the thing is,
we are focusing on the pulled hamstring.
We are focusing on factors such as the lack of shirt, the Carlos.
Yeah.
The hamstring.
Do you think he always calls him Carlos? Or do you think if you and I are fighting, you know how like you and I will be fighting and things will get really serious and then something will come out and you start laughing? Like I would imagine that Carlos would be that moment when the fight turns into both of you sitting there laughing.
Yeah, but it didn't.
It didn't.
Because it was followed by the C word. It was.
Very serious.
Jessie, the fallout.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so at this point, Michael Clarke and Jade Yarbrough have been fined for public nuisance, which is the most embarrassing crime. We have a friend who was public nuisance.
Who?
Schoolies.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
And
But
it's
then
just...
we looked at him, we went, yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
But if I were to use 2 words to describe him, I'd say he's a public nuisance.
He's a public nuisance. Well said. Pay your fine and
Move on.
do better.
Try to be less of a nuisance. Michael Clarke has also been dumped as a commentator for Australia's forthcoming tour of India.
Oh, Pip can't come. He full lined it up with Pip, and now he's got to be like not going to India.
We can
Noosa instead? No.
Question mark? No, because people are going to be filming you. This is one of those stories where people care so much that every news outlet just wants to run a million angles and they increasingly get more and more bizarre. There's the Daily Mail being like, the ABC thinks this is too lowbrow. Did you know Channel 9 hasn't published a story about this? Because they're trying to protect Carlos.
There was a conspiracy theory about Anthony Belly Bell, which said that basically, I don't know why a celebrity accountant would do this. I guess he wants more money. That what he did was orchestrate the brawl so that people would tune into the Today Show the next day to see if Carlos would make a statement.
Well, the interesting thing is I did hear that and I went, he's an accountant. he's not a
Can you imagine if we got a call from our accountant being like, you know who'd be great for Cancelled? It's like, weird. Not your job.
Jessie, it's time for charges and sentences.
My charge, and this is one that we've had before, so I'm going to go kind of broad, and then I'm going to kind of go more specific.
Okay, great.
Okay, so broad charge, had it before, it's in the rule book, I checked, dirty dog.
Yeah.
Right, is what we've got, we've got a dirty dog. But more specifically, my concern and my worry with Michael Clarke is that I at once know too much about the man and not enough.
Okay.
Let me explain.
What don't you know?
I don't know enough about the affair with Pip. So what I know is that something happened on December 17. If I'm going to be given a date and a name, I'm going to need details about what went down. Yeah?
Okay. And if that was a one-time thing, continuous.
Yeah. I need more of a timeline. I need more of a Pip saying he's shown his true character. In what way?
Yeah.
Can we go to examples? I need more of...
Like, did he cheat on Pip, for example?
If I'm going to be given this information, none of which I asked for, what I need is a transcript between Jade and Pip.
Okay.
In regards to how that conversation went down.
Oprah interview, Jade and Pip. That's all Michael, no, you've lost your right. You've actually lost your right. Sit down.
Sit down. You rest your hamstring. You do a stretch. And you let the ladies have a chat.
These lovely ladies.
My sentence is needing to know, given I already know 68%.
Yeah.
My sentence is finding out the other 72. Okay. And that includes maybe a little bit more information from Lara Bingle. Kylie.
Lara Bingle's gone quiet now. She's very classy now.
Yeah.
She's a very classy lady. I feel like she wouldn't come out and say, just while I own my skincare brand and am beautiful and have a very curated Instagram, I will just say a few things about Michael Clarke.
And that's that he's a dirty dog. So I'm just going to need more information. And maybe it is a sequel to my story.
Okay.
The Michael Clarke story.
Yeah.
Which is
my story, a night in Noosa.
A crazy night in Noosa, my circus.
Because Pip said, not my circus.
You know whose circus it is? It is my circus.
A couple of things as I'm kind of vibing.
Yeah.
My charge and sentence. Did we get to, in that transcript, the moment where he did swear on his daughter's life?
Oh, we didn't know.
Okay.
That was kind of vaguely referred to in what I looked up. I didn't have the specific words.
He did swear on his daughter's life that he did not cheat with Pip. It turns out that he did. And so people are very upset. So I just, off the bat, you owe Kelsey Lee an apology.
Oh, great point.
Kelsey Lee was completely innocent in this. She did not deserve to have her name
tucked
thrown
up in bed while you're out in Noosa.
But my charge, being a cranky boy. Right. He's a cranky boy.
And he was cranky that night. He could have really kept it light, but he didn't.
Well, I do think his crankiness came out in the lying. It's a cranky person. If I'm in a good mood and someone says you cheated, and I go, I did. You know what, I did. But if I'm cranky and someone says you cheated, I say...
You start telling lies.
I start yelling Carlos.
Yeah. And in terms of the cranky boy thing as well, it was the whole shirtless limping situation, which was very zombie-esque. He looked like he was coming
oh my gosh,
slowly to attack.
From a grave.
Yeah, exactly.
He did look like he had emerged from the ground.
Yeah.
He did. Now, so
what is the sentence for a cranky boy?
My sentence, so sorry, it was being a cranky boy, and I did also have cheating.
Okay.
Under that. But I do think the two
fine.
things are intertwined. I think he cheats when he gets cranky.
Oh, wow.
I do feel like there's a relation.
What does cheating make him cranky? It's a cycle. It's a
cycle. One
in
beats
that
the
one.
other.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting that you mentioned the circus. He needs to put on a circus show.
All right.
He needs to start a circus that tours, that tells one story and one story only. And it is that night. And I would go. It's going to be a circus. I've been to a circus that was set up at Fox Studios, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a circus tent. And I just think he could use that area. He could use the tent.
All right.
And in there is the story. And we've got actors.
So it's a reenactment.
Yeah.
But he's in
style. It. Yes. Performers. We've got juggling cricket balls. We've got juggling a bat.
It's a real theme tonight in Noosa meets Michael Clarke.
We could really play up the hamstring injury with flips. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've really, I think it's got to be a circus, maybe a little bit Circus Olay vibes.
Oh, wow.
Because it's Noosa, maybe we've got a beach. So it is going to be called My Circus.
My Circus.
And then Pip alternatively can make her own circus
called
Not My Circus.
That is confusing.
Yeah, Not My Circus. And I'd watch that too, Pip. Just FYI. Just FYI.
I'd watch and read it all. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Cancelled. You can find us at _thewins_thoughts on Instagram, where we'll put some of those. I think those memes are already there. We were quick on that.
We were quick, but there will be other memes.
The whole internet was like, is this funny? And we were like, we don't care. We already posted the memes. We are also on TikTok, having a good old time over there. If you want to join us, it's just Cancelled Podcast on TikTok.
I saw we got a comment from somebody that said, "Who are these girls?" And they said, "Jokes, Claire and Jesse Stevens, love you."
Oh, that's so funny, Cancelled listeners.
Because they were joking, being like, because TikTok is a bad place where people say, "Who are you?"
Yeah, who do you think you are? Well, we don't know. We're trying to find a new audience. Anyway, this podcast is produced by Talissa Bazaz.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.